final race of the season for the Ginetta GT5 Challenge. We have a championship that's been decided, and that means that for the last race of the year, all bets are off, and I think the gloves may be as well. We're in for a cracking race, I think, here from the GT5s. Race number 2 of the weekend, the first one today, was particularly close, with Jerry Nicosia just about hanging on to take the race victory from Gordy Much in second and Josh Malin in third. Nicosia a double winner then this weekend so far, so he will start on pole position again for race number 3, looking to take the hat trick, which has not been done yet this year. We've had on 2 occasions drivers win 2 races in any given weekend, 3 occasions in fact. One of those times with Adam Smalley, the other 2 times it was the champion Scott McKenna. Scott McKenna was crowned the champion provisionally after yesterday's first race, which is why we've not seen him racing today, as he's elected to just avoid any possibility of any penalties and getting docked of any championship points. So he's decided to watch from the sidelines whilst everyone else goes out there and races for fun, but also for a few championship positions that may still change around here in the closing stages of the season. So here we go then. This is the grid for your final race of the year. Jerry Nicosia and Gordy Much are 2 battlers for the victory in race number 2. Start on row number 1 together, with Josh Malin third and Matt MAXTED fourth. Malin made a great start in race number 2. He'll be looking for similar in the third race. Then it's Connor Grady and Abby Pulling, rounding out the top 6. And then on row number 4, Alistair Barkley on his first appearance in the championship, and Charlie Budd, who got his first top 10 effort of the season. Then it's Ryan Firth, likewise, with Daniel Budd, another driver who was in the top 10 for the first time in race number 2. And then the first of our AM drivers, Wes Pearce in 11th place, with Magnus Kruklevi in 12th, rounding out the 6th row. Dale Albert and Chris Threadgill are next up on the 7th row of the grid together. And then on row number 8, it will be Phil McGarty and Gus Bowers, an AM driver alongside a pro driver. Then the 9th row for Jesse Chamberlain. It's the same sort of situation here. He's a pro driver with Bal Sidhu, the AM driver, alongside him in 18th. Then James Townsend and Katie Milner, one to watch, I think, because she was up there in the top 10 before going off the road, unfortunately, in race number 1. Adam Smalley, likewise, should come from the back, and Will DYRDAL is there, despite the fact he heavily went off the road in the early stages of race number 2. Then Josh Steed, and then on screen I can see Danny Harrison. Yes, there he is. Danny didn't start the previous race as far as I could tell, but is out there, thankfully, for our 3rd race. So the field works its way around the Donington Park Grand Prix circuit then, and Jerry Nicosia looking to try and take 2nd place in the championship away from Adam Smalley, and he should have done more than enough for that now, because Smalley in yesterday's race was only 8th, and he was non-finisher then earlier on today. So Nicosia will be into 2nd place in the championship, and Gordy Much, I think, will be into 3rd now. So Adam Smalley needs to try and make some progress and get ahead of those 2 in order to reclaim the runners-up spot in the championship. He, for most of the season, has been the thorn in the side of the Zentek Motorsport car off Scott McKenna, but Scott, with 5 race victories to Adam Smalley's 4, and just a more consistent season all round, was enough to put McKenna on top when it mattered, and he really just had to go through the motions to an extent this weekend. But he came home with a 2nd place finish yesterday, which was just enough to seal the deal, and I think he did so by a couple of points, and that was enough. That's all he needed to do. He then didn't need to even appear in our final couple of races. It's a shame not to see him out there, but you can understand the decision that he took in order to avoid any possible penalties. And so Scott McKenna absent from this one. Thankfully, Danny Harrison, who was the other driver absent from the front of the grid in race number 2, is there. He's the red and black car, a very quick driver. So he and the yellow and black car at the back, number 54, Adam Smalley, are arguably the 2 to watch for coming from the back, because they both got front-running pace. For the final time then, in 2019, it's time to go racing in the Protyre Motorsport Ginetta GT5 Challenge. A quick turnaround on the lights, and the field launches towards Redgate Corner for 15 minutes of racing, and Nicosia holds on to the lead from pole position. It's another good start by Malin, but a brilliant start by the orange and black car of Matt MAXTED on the outside line into Redgate Corner. He risks getting squeezed out, though, and does indeed fall back into about 4th or 5th, and he's on the grass, and so Charlie Budd comes up the inside, and Charlie Budd from 8th on the grid is into the top 5 already. They're the 2 black and orange cars running wheel to wheel, side by side for fourth position. Abby Pulling is in that mix as well, and Conor Grady, so all of the orange cars together. At least if they make contact, you won't be able to tell. And Ryan Firth has had a demon start as well. Ryan Firth from 10th on the grid, he's also a part of that group. Leading trio getting away, rather, as they did in the previous race, whilst everyone else squabbles over fourth. It's Conor Grady that gets fourth place for now, with Matt MAXTED fifth, and then Pulling and who's that? Pulling and Grady, no, Pulling and the 44 of Charlie Budd side by side behind. 99 there, chopping across the nose of another car. That was Magnus Kruklivi trying to withhold his position that he was in. As Ryan Firth gets rather eased out wide up at the top of the circuit, but Nicosia, Much and Malin have already gone. That gap between themselves and Conor Grady is already several seconds because of the amount of battling that was being done behind. These three sensibly just got themselves into a queue and pulled away, and they realise you're not going to win the race in the first lap, but you can very much find yourself losing it if you get sucked back into the pack. Got a glimpse there of Katie Milner, the red, white and blue car, number 50, coming through. She started 20th on the grid, but she's certainly higher up the order than that now, as the leading three almost pushing each other through the Melbourne hairpin. Gordy Much defending his second place now from Josh Malin, and Josh with that wide line integrate into Goddard's hairpin, looking for a good exit. It won't have been a good exit for Nicosia though, because he's got a wheel in the grass coming out of Goddard's and along the pit straight. Grady then comes through fourth, with MAXTED next, then Abby Pulling ahead of Ryan Firth. So Charlie Budd has unfortunately dropped back down into 8th position, and Daniel Budd in the number 47 car. His brother there, the pink, white and black machine, is right behind, fending off the very impressive Alistair Barkley, but Daniel Budd gets a wheel on the grass and loses it, and Daniel Budd spins away 9th position. Well, he got his season best effort of 11th in the previous race. He could have been on for his first top 10, but that's now looking not particularly likely because he's dropping well right down to the back of the field, basically. So outside of the top 20, 24 cars running in this race, and he'll be pretty much the last of them. Leading trio, though, back at McLean's. Nicosia, Much and Malin, still the order halfway around this second lap of racing. Fastest first sector set by Malin in third, because he's getting towed around by those two in front of him. Is he going to be able to get through? And is that Conor Grady? I think it is. Conor Grady's pulled off, well, either pulled off or got off, but looking at where he's ended up, you'd assume he's pulled off there on the run through Schwantz Curve. The number 25 car appears to be undamaged, and that's rather odd. So Conor Grady is out of the race, unfortunately, from 4th position, having just got ahead of Matt MAXTED on the previous lap. So Grady had been going forwards, but sadly out of the race now. The leading three make their way back through the Melbourne hairpin, and the gap between 3rd and 4th is some 1.9 seconds. So the gap there, as you can see, is very, very substantial. And as they head out onto the pit straight again, it is now looking like a private battle between these three. We'll watch the lap times with interest. A 45.9 for Nicosia is the fastest lap. Is MAXTED keeping up with them? No, he's 2.5 nearly slower than the leader, so the gap between 3rd and 4th is only getting bigger. What of those making progress from the back? Well, there's Adam Small in the yellow and black car. He's really made some good ground up. Turns through Redgate Corner, just ahead of Katie Milner and Alistair Barkley, so he's now into 9th place already from the very back of the grid, near enough. And Danny Harrison was the other one, wasn't he? Well, Danny Harrison not quite such electrifying progress. He's into 14th place, so he's gained a further 6 spots on the previous lap alone, actually. But Danny Harrison not quite able to live with Adam Smalley. There was a screech of tyres, and that's why, because around has called Charlie Budd now. So both of the Budd brothers have had their own separate incidents, this time down at the old hairpin. That looks like it has all the hallmarks of being a very similar sort of issue. And Charlie will rejoin. Gets going again, but yeah, must have got a wheel on the grass there coming out of the old hairpin. That's usually the way, or hit too much curb on the inside maybe, which we've also seen a few times today. In the background, I noticed that Ryan Firth is now 6th, having started 10th. So Ryan Firth, in his not first weekend of racing in the championship, he competed in the first 2 or 3 meetings, then he missed Zandvoort, and that meant that he was out of contention then for any really strong championship points. He also missed a race at Snetterton last time. This is what happened to Charlie Budd. He was already sort of out of control before he reached the apex. It wasn't so much hitting the curb that sent him spinning, he just carried a bit too much speed in. But the Budd brothers have a fairly a fair wealth of experience even in classic mini racing. So this is a little bit different. The speeds are a little bit quicker, but they're also rear-wheel drive, these cars, and so you can't throw them into the corners in quite the way that they may be accustomed to. So this is the fight for fourth then. 83 is Matt MAXTED, 46 is Ryan Firth. He's just got himself ahead of Abby Pulling now, so Abby Pulling down into 6th, but this has still been a real standout weekend for Abby. In yesterday's race she was only 12th, but then she worked up into 6th position in race number 2. She's running 6th again now, and that P6 that she had was her first, not her first top 10, her second top 10 of the season, but her best finish. She had a 9th place before that. So the Pulling car is watching Matt MAXTED pull away at the moment from them as it's side by side for the race leader. Jerry Dakota and Gordy Much are banging doors as they go towards Coppice Corner, so Much has the inside line and he's going to go through. I'd like to see how that one started. I think it looks as though he got up the inside into McLean's, and maybe Nicosia didn't particularly appreciate the way in which he did it, but Gordy Much has got the lead away then from Nicosia, who will be fighting back if he can. Goes to the outside, down to the chicane. He's going to have to send it here. They make contact again, and Nicosia's all over the curb. He's going straight on through the gravel trap. There is an access route, as you can see. He'll bounce back on the road, still in second, but I don't think he'll be allowed to keep that second place because Josh Malin will argue that he should have got past him there. But Nicosia will say, well, I was in second when I went off, and I was in second when I came back on, so no harm, no foul. But Nicosia does rejoin. That was fairly feisty between the two of them, wasn't it? Of course, Gordy Much came into the weekend only 2 points behind Nicosia, but has been beaten by Nicosia in both races, and they're fighting for third in the championship. Meanwhile, Ryan Firth continues this stonking progress up the order. He's got the inside of Matt MAXTED now, so Firth into 4th, and MAXTED down to 5th, with Pulling still in 6th. Adam Smalley's on the grass as he tries to now find a way past Josh Steed. So Josh Steed then. Oh, and Matt MAXTED back on the inside of Ryan Firth into Redgate Corner, and he prizes the door open and then kicks it open again once he's fully alongside. They can lean on each other again now through Hollywood, just for good measure. They're still side by side though, and Abby Pulling's thinking, I could be odds-on favourite for 4th place here if this goes wrong. Firth goes back through at the Craner curves, but MAXTED has the inside at the old hairpin. It doesn't matter, he can't come from that far back, and so Firth is now into 4th, with MAXTED now trying to fend off Abby Pulling for this 5th position. Nicosia now trying the outside line of McLean's to get back ahead of Gordy Much. That risks leaving the door open for Josh Malin, but Malin is, he doesn't really know which way to go here, does Jerry Nicosia. He's attacking and defending at the same time. He's had a tighter run through Coppice though, and so for the second lap in succession, he's probably going to be to the outside of Gordy Much going into the chicane. He's had a better run this time though, and they are almost dead level now into the chicane. Nicosia with his nose in front, but Gordy Much has that inside line and will get into that chicane in front, but this is a fascinating battle. We're into the second half of the race now as well. We've got 7 laps in for our first 2 races, so if we get the same amount in once again, there'll be 2 laps to go after this one. Much defending the inside once more. I reckon we might squeeze 3 laps in though, possibly. Yeah, we should get an 8th lap out of this race, hopefully. Good news, we'll get even more racing action. They head into the final turn. Gordy Much sideways as he does so, but really pushing hard here to try and get away, but breaking the toe in these cars is so difficult, and so that's what's keeping the racing nice and close here. When you get away in a little bunch like this, usually you're together for the whole race. Nicosia into the back of Much there. I think there's, oh, the safety car's being scrambled now. What's this for? The safety car is coming out. Who have we lost then? No one obvious on the timing screen has gone missing. The safety car is being called. We've had Conor Grady pulling off the road earlier on, but he's been off to the side of the track for a few laps now. So, unfortunately, this battle gets put on ice for a moment or two. Nicosia was just about to start making a move there to get alongside again into McLean's corner. But there we go, the safety car then is being called, and Gordy Much, the race leader by a nose, just about hangs on as a result of the safety car. So the leaders then out of Coppice Corner. Ryan Firth in 4th position, of course, will gain on them now as well, with MAXTED, Pulling, Steed, Smalley, Barkley and Milner to round out the top 10. the chicane they come then, waiting for the pace car to pick them all up, and sadly that might mean that the race will end on the safety car because there's not a huge amount of time left. So the Gaudy Much lead that he's got is possibly going to be saved a little bit now by this safety car, and we believe they need to get a recovery crew across the circuit somewhere around the track. That's why the safety car's been called, so it's not because there's another car off the road. But we will hopefully get some more racing in, but not entirely sure. There is the safety car then. Picks up the race leaders. We'll do in a minute. So we believe that they've actually already done what they need to do, so hopefully this will only be a one-lap safety car. So if a safety car lap is going to be, what, 2.5 minutes or so, we're going to get a one-lap shootout at that rate. So that's going to be rather an entertaining end to our final GT5 Challenge race of the day, I would suggest. Much, Nicosia and Malin then your top three. Ryan Firth in 4th position. Now for Gaudy Much to beat Nicosia to 3rd in the championship, I think he needs Jerry to lose a few more places. So this actually plays nicely into the hands of Gaudy, because not only is Josh Malin still going to be on the tail of Nicosia, but the very rapid Ryan Firth will also join in. I don't think that will be quite enough for him to take it, but Nicosia is going to be feeling the heat here, definitely from some very quick drivers behind. Adam Smalley also gets an opportunity now to continue his forward progress, and likewise Katie Milner, who has worked her way into the top 10 now as well. She got past Alistair Barkley on the previous lap, and so she will be, I think, in a position to maybe gain a few more places too, because I think there was a gap in front of Milner to Josh Steed, so that now gets eradicated. So the lights are out on the safety car then. A flying lap is around 1:45 or 1:46, so if they get back to the start-finish line in the next 45 seconds, we'll get 2 laps. I don't think they're going to do that though, because they've still got a third of the lap to do, so I think this is going to be a one-lap shootout. So Gaudy Much just needs to get his elbows out for 1 lap, but that isn't going to be easy. Jerry Nicosia in 2nd position will be keen to get on with this. He needs to stay right on the rear bumper then of the race leader. Through the chicane, safety car's pulled well away, and Gaudy Much really backing up the field now as he plans in his head when he's going to accelerate. The exit of the hairpin is usually a good place to do it, but that might be a bit predictable, I suppose. Alistair Barkley not exactly on his toes here, so Danny Harrison won't be best pleased about that. They're losing time to the leading cars, and Barkley not really all that keen to get back up there with them. So a very late decision for Gaudy Much to accelerate, which he does do, but he was never going to gain a huge margin, I guess, over Nicosia, but he would have liked a bit more breathing room than this as we go on to what will be the final lap of the race and the final lap of the season then. Down to Redgate Corner they go. Gaudy Much, Jerry Nicosia and Josh Malin 1st, 2nd and 3rd, and he turned through the right-hander at Redgate Corner. Ryan Firth defending his 4th place actually from Matt Maxted and Abby Pulling, so I don't think he's going to be able to go after the leading trio. Looks already as if they're opening up a bit of breathing room over him, but Jerry Nicosia really attacking Gaudy Much, trying to get this job done as soon as he can with only just over half a lap to go. Malin keeping a watching brief in 3rd, but he was a bit wide into the old hairpin. Nicosia's had a good exit from the old hairpin and is going to possibly pull alongside Gaudy Much. He will pull alongside to the left-hand side of the road through Swans Curve. He's got his nose in front, but the next corner is a right-hander, and that will surely favour Gaudy Much, who has the inside line for that and the next corner at Coppice. Nicosia hanging tough around the outside. He can't really duck back in line either because Josh Malin is there. Now he might be able to do it, but Malin's trying to get up the inside. Can't quite get there though. And so Josh elects instead to push Nicosia out of the corner so that they both might get a run on Gaudy Much in front. Down the straight they go. Much weaving around to try and break the toe. Nicosia sees a gap on the inside, then goes back to the outside line, but Gaudy has that one covered as well and gets into the chicane, still in the race lead. Ryan Firth has caught up to them now. 2 more corners to go. This could all kick off big style down at the Melbourne hairpin. Gaudy Much is anticipating such, and so he goes to the inside line to cover. Nicosia locks up the brakes around the outside, gets a bit sideways. That'll prevent him from getting the switch back on the exit and actually allows Josh Malin to almost get alongside him. But Nicosia, I think, has probably just given away any chance of getting up the inside of Gordy Much into the last corner. Gordy turns through the final turn, and after 2 race victories for Jerry Nicosia this weekend, he will not do the clean sweep. Gordy Much comes out to the final corner and wins the final race of the season for the Protyre Motorsport Ginetta GT5 Challenge. Jerry Nicosia second, and Josh Malin with another 3rd place finish. A 5th yesterday and 2/3 today is a good weekend's work for him. 4th place will go to Ryan Firth. That was one of the drives of the race, you'd have to say, with Matt MAXTED 5th and Abby Pulling recreating the 6th place finish that she scored in the previous race. Then it is Adam Smalley 7th, Josh Steed 8th, Katie Milner 9th, and Danny Harrison to round out the top 10. So brilliant racing. Balsidou comes through a little bit later as the last of the finishers in 23rd. Gordy Much then with the victory, and the Fox Motorsport squad will celebrate that one, I'm sure. Jerry Nicosia robbed of the chance to win all 3 races, but I mean, it was a fair fight for Gordy. He got through, the safety car came out, he only then had to defend for 1 lap, but my word, did he have to defend for that last lap, particularly the first 2/3 or so of it. When they got into the penultimate corner though, that is where Nicosia unfortunately had that little moment, and that just meant that he was not quite close enough into the last corner to make a significant challenge. And so Nicosia has to settle for 2nd, but he's still with the biggest points scorer this weekend, so that will mean that he secures 2nd place in the championship then, behind Scott McKenna. And actually, Nicosia will have almost scored maximum points, won't he, this weekend, because he scored the 35 for winning in yesterday's race and the fastest lap point as well. And I'm pretty sure, no, he wasn't on pole, was he? Gordy Much had pole position. But Nicosia will have closed in to probably only about 4 or 5 points behind Scott McKenna. So you can see why McKenna didn't want to race today, because if he had have had any bit of contact and been docked maybe 2 or 3 championship points, which is an option potentially if there's driving standards issues out on the track, then that might have robbed him of the championship. But he did not race, that did not happen, and so he will be the champion. But Gordy Much, a race winner in the final round of the championship. Jerry Nicosia 2nd, Josh Malin in 3rd. Ryan Firth is 4th, and Matt MAXTED in 5th with Abby Pulling. Then Adam Smalley from the back of the grid to 7th place, 8th Josh Steed, 9th Katie Milner, and 10th for Danny Harrison, also from the back. Then it was Alistair Barkley who lost that 10th position on the last lap to Danny Harrison. Gus Bowers was 12th, Jesse Chamberlain 13th, with Will DYRDAL 14th in a repaired car, and Magnus Crick-Livy, excuse me, to round out the top 15. Dale Albert was next with James Townsend and Wes Pearce behind, and they were the top 3 in the AM class, and that means that Dale Albert will now be confirmed as the champion, having won just the one of the races, but he's had podiums in each of the races so far. Then it was Chris Threadgill, Daniel Budd after his spin, Phil McGarty, Charlie Budd after his spin was 22nd, and Balsidou, the last of the finishers, in 23rd place. So the Ginetta GT5 cars pull into the pit lane, but don't go anywhere because we've still got 2 races to go this afternoon. The Mini Challenger up next, and then we'll see more Ginetta G40s in the G40 Cup, where, by my reckoning, it may be tied on points between the top 2 going into the final race of the season. So the last race of the day, about 6 o'clock, is not one you'll want to miss, but that GT5 challenge was pretty enjoyable as well. Gordy Much, the winner, and the Scottish driver enjoying the moment, and yes, really enjoying the moment actually. Nicosia will be a little deflated not to have got the hat-trick, but it was a strong challenge from Nicosia in the end. He got a good start again, as he did in the previous race. He led into Redgate Corner with Gordy Much right on his tail, and Josh Malin going with them. Those 3 really worked together in the early exchanges to pull clear of a almighty scrap for 3rd position, with cars bouncing across the grass at the first corner and rather delaying each other, allowing these 3 to fight out in front. There were 1 or 2 mistakes from Jerry Nicosia that hinted at the possibility that Gordy might be able to get past him, and indeed eventually he was. Both of the Budd brothers had spins, unfortunately. First up was Daniel Budd with this rotation at Redgate Corner, and then a lap or so later Charlie went off at the old hairpin. Car through the gravel at the chicane as well. There was Charlie Budd's spin. all on his own, unfortunately, through the old hairpin. Thankfully, he was able to rejoin. Jerry Nicosia under pressure from Gordy Much, and Gordy eventually got to the inside line at McLean's, completed the manoeuvre at Coppice Corner, and would hang on to the flag. Nicosia was trying everything to get back through, had to take to the runoff area down at the chicane after that failed attempt around the outside line, before a one-lap safety car period provided us with a one-lap shootout for the flag. It was Gordy Much, though, that held on. He defended for all he was worth, kept Nicosia behind, and took the race victory. Nicosia, with 2 wins and a second place, though, will secure second place in the 2019 championship.